Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fifth DOP, our division outlook and predictions. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? We are 4 down and 2 to go. Today is for the AL West, and we finished them today as well because later on today will be the NL East, the sixth and last DOP. We got through them all this week. If you have not heard the other four, we have done the AL East, the NL West, and then both the AL and NL Central. You can go and take a listen on to those. Let me know your thoughts in those comments, and let me know your thoughts for this as well. This division is gonna be honest, I was very excited about them when I was starting my research and starting to do everything. Now I'm not sure exactly how I actually feel about this AL West division. It's going to be a battle, but how high of a battle, how high is the ceiling for some of these teams? That is what we are going to figure out starting right now with the Seattle Mariners. They finished 90 and 72 last year. They were ninth in runs, 13th in starter ERA, and 9th in relief ERA. They finished first in the AL West for the first time since, I believe, 2001. They won their division. They were the number 2 seed and got a bye in the AL wildcard. They ended up defeating the Tigers in 5 games, 3-2 in the ALDS, before losing to the Toronto Blue Jays in Game 7 of the ALCS. They had a heartbreaking win, or heart-saving win against the Tigers in Game 5, but then ended up getting that heartbreaking loss in Game 7 of the ALCS. Manager Dan Wilson is back and will enter his second full season as the Mariners manager. They did lose a couple players, including Jorge Polanco, who hit the walk-off hit in the 15th inning of Game 5 against the Tigers to clinch the ALCS berth. Caleb Ferguson also out of town. Leody Taveras, Harry Ford was traded to the Nationals. He's gone. Eugenio Suarez, Ben Williamson, Taylor Saucedo, Luke Jackson, Trent Thornton, and Gerangelo Chizente. If you don't know who he is the switch pitching prospect. Very fun, very notable name there. They do bring back some guys, including Josh Naylor and Mitch Garver, but they also add Andrew Kisner, Rob Refsnyder, Jose A. Ferreira, Brendan Donovan. That was one of the big trades towards the end of the offseason that they landed. So some interesting names added, some big names kind of gone as well. The rotation that Seattle brings to the 2026 year is still one of the best in baseball, featuring Brian Wu, Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Bryce Miller, probably a top 5, maybe even top 3 MLB rotation to start on opening day. They're all very good pitchers. The lineup has Brendan Donovan at third base. This is what Fangraphs has listed. Cal Raleigh, a career year for the big dumper. He's the catcher batting second. Of course, we have Julio Rodriguez, yes, the center fielder. He bats third with Josh Naylor playing first base, batting fourth. Randy Arozarena in left field, batting fifth with Dominic Canzone behind him. The DH bats sixth. J.P. Crawford, the shortstop, batting seventh with Victor Robles in right field, batting eighth. And then Cole Young listed as the starting second baseman. He had a couple playing time towards the end of the season last year. He had some big moments as well. Their bench has Andrew Kisner, Luke Raley, Leo Rivas, and Rob Refsnyder listed. The bullpen, you've got some names to note, especially Andres Munoz, who's becoming one of the better relief pitchers in the game, the better closers as well. They also have Matt Brash, Jose A. Ferreira, Gabe Spire, and Eduardo Bizardo, who of course gave up that 3-run home run to Springer in Game 7 of the ALCS, which lost the Mariners that game, and their World Series chances went out the window. On the IL, Logan Evans is going to be, he's got Tommy John. He is out for the season, so no Logan Evans this year for the Mariners. Not sure if he would have even been on the Major League roster to begin with. Looking ahead into 2027, the free agents that the Mariners will be having include J.P. Crawford. That's a big-time name right there. Rob Refsnyder, Andrew Kidsner, Randy Arozarena, another big name. Andres Munoz has an $8 million club option. I think the Mariners will definitely pick that one up. The more interesting one is Victor Robles, who has a $9 million club option. Whether the Mariners pick that one or not will soon to be seen. So that is what the Seattle Mariners bring entering 2026 and their potential free agents for 2027. As we look now to kind of their big competition in the Houston Astros, the big brothers of the division finished 87 and 75. They were 21st in runs, 14th in starter ERA, and 8th in relief ERA. They finished 3 games back of the Mariners for the division, and they were tied with the Tigers for that final wild card spot. They just didn't have the tiebreaker over the Tigers, so they missed the postseason for the first time since 2006. I had not realized it had been that long. The Astros were in 8 straight postseasons ahead of last year. They, of course, won 2 of those. And if you count the year in 2015, that means before last year, they had been in 9 of the last 10 postseasons. A pretty crazy stretch. The best era of Houston Astros baseball that we have ever seen. Of course, manager Joe Espada, he is back entering his 3rd full season as the Astros manager. They did lose some names, including Victor Caratini, Chaz McCormick, Mauricio Dubon, Ramon Urias, Luis Garcia. He is still a free agent, but he's no longer with them as of now. Craig Kimbrell, Hector Neris, Brendan Rodgers, Jesus Sanchez, but the most notable name, of course, being Framber Valdez, no longer with the Astros. They do need to replace some of these guys, and they bring in some guys as well. Nick Allen joins the team. Once top prospect Nate Pearson coming aboard. Mike Burrows, Joey Loper-Fido was welcomed back by the Astro fans. He, fan favorite, is back there. You have Ryan Ways, as well as Tatsuya Imai, who is coming over from the East Coast, I believe the MVP, the Japanese league there. He is going to mix it up with some of this Astros rotation, which is very good still, despite, finishing 14th in starter ERA. They were, very solid guys, including Hunter Brown, who is the ace of this staff. He had a phenomenal year. One of the more underrated pitchers in the game right now. Christian Javier, Tatsuya Imai, Lance McCullers Jr., Mike Burrows, and Ryan Ways. Fangraphs has the Astros listed with a 6-man rotation. So, of course, that 5th-man spot up for grabs between Ways and Burrows, you could say, but we'll have to see come the start of the season. The lineup for the Astros: Jeremy Pena, the shortstop, bats first, with Yordan Alvarez, the DH, batting second. He's been dealing with injuries. Jose Altuve, back where he belongs, second baseman, bats third. Carlos Correa, back with the Astros, of course, batting fourth, playing third. Christian Walker, kind of a down year. He's the first baseman. He bats fifth, with Joey Loper-Fido listed as the left fielder, batting sixth. Yanier Diaz, the catcher, bats seventh. Zach Cole in right field bats eighth, with Jake Myers out there in center, batting ninth. The bench features Cesar Salazar, Nick Allen. How about Isaac Paredes and Cam Smith as well? 2 guys that were kind of big in the lineup last year. Find themselves on the bench, according to Fangraphs, to start this year. We'll see what that means for them. The bullpen, Brian Abreu, kind of closing out the back end here early on. Steven Okert and Enyel De Los Santos is some guys to know. They do have some other notable pitchers. They just happen to be on the IL, including Josh Hader, who is questionable for opening day. Boy, they would love to have him at the start of the year. Nate Pearson, who they picked up, he is questionable for opening day, as well as Hayden Wazinski. He is actually questionable for the season. He had Tommy John, I think it was May last year. Ronald Blanco, he is also questionable for the season. He had Tommy John later in the season. So 4 pitchers that the Astros could really love to have. Questionable for the season, questionable for opening day, some of them. Looking ahead into 2027, Lance McCullers Jr. will be on the market. Brian Abreu, one of the top arms for the back end of a bullpen, will be on the market. Steven Okert and Yel de los Santos, kind of notable names from the Astros bullpen, are all going to be free agents. Tatsuya Imai just did sign with them. He does have an $18 million player option, so depending on how his year goes, maybe he opts out and finds another home. Ryan Weiss, he's got a $5 million club option, so depending on how his season goes, maybe the Astros will keep him around or not. That is what the big brother Houston Astros have going on. We move on to the Texas Rangers, who finished 81 and 81, like the San Francisco Giants, two teams that finished at 500 on the dot. 81 wins, 81 losses. They were 22nd in runs, but they were first in starter ERA. They were fifth in relief ERA. They finished 9 games back of the Mariners for the division and 6 games back for that final wild card spot. They've got a new manager this year. Skip Schumacher will be his first year with the Rangers, his third year as a whole. Of course, he was the manager for the Miami Marlins 2 years in 2023 and 2024. And that first year ever as a manager, he was actually the manager of the year back in 2023 in his first year ever. So some great stuff there. He is a great manager. Rangers are lucky to have them. They did lose a handful of guys. A lot of pitchers are out. Merrill Kelly is gone. Tyler Mahle, Phil Maton, Sean Armstrong, Hobie Milner, Adolis Garcia, they let go. Jacob Webb, Marcus Simeon was traded. Jonah Heim was let go. Patrick Corbin, Danny Coulombe, Donovan Solano, Rowdy Tellez, John Gray, Dylan Moore. A massive amount of major league talent is out, but that means they can bring in a lot of talent, and they'll do just that. Brandon Nimmo is coming over from the Mets. They add Danny Jansen. They trade for Mackenzie Gore from the Nationals. That's an underrated trade of the offseason. He is very good. They bring in Jacob Junis, Tyler Alexander, Alexis Diaz, and they bring back Jordan Montgomery. After a couple years away, he was a big part of their World Series ring back in 2023. They also bring back Chris Martin and Josh Spores from the team last year. The rotation, according to Fangraphs, has a very strong top 3 and a bottom 2 with a high ceiling potential. Jacob deGrom was healthy last year. Thank God, he pitched very well. Hopefully that could continue this year. Nathan Eovaldi was one of the better pitchers last year, just had a lot of time on the IL spent with injuries. Mackenzie Gore listed as a 3, and then the 2 prospect kids, they're going to be coming up together here. Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker are listed as the 4 and 5. They continue to try to figure things out at the major league level. The lineup for the Rangers will have Brandon Nimmo playing right field. I don't know if he's ever played in right field. I've always remember him being the left fielder for the Mets. I'm not sure if he's ever done that before, but he's leading off. Wyatt Langford will play left field. He'll bat second with Corey Seager, the shortstop, batting third. Jock Peterson had a tough year, but he's listed 4th as the DH, with Jake Berger batting 5th, playing first base. Evan Carter was a big part of that 2023 World Series run. He's been struggling to figure it out since then. He plays center field. Josh Young, the third baseman, bats 7th, with Josh Smith playing second base. He had a sneaky good year last year. And then they have Danny Jansen listed as the catcher. He would bat 9th, with a bench that features Kyle Higashioka, Ezekiel Duran, Sam Haggerty, and Michael Hellman. So not sure exactly how those guys will fit into this everyday lineup. Higashioka, Danny Jansen, you could platoon them left and right. They're both good catchers, so it'd be interesting to see how the Rangers utilize those guys. The bullpen, some names that you'll know include Robert Garcia, Chris Martin, Jacob Junis, Alexis Diaz. I mean, if he can figure things out, what an add that would be. Tyler Alexander, Josh Spore, some notable names there. On the IL for opening day, Cody Bradford is listed as questionable. Cody Freeman, he was going to be out 4 to 6 weeks at the start in spring training. So when you actually bring up those 4 to 6 weeks, that pretty much takes it to all of spring. They might give him some time to ramp up. He's questionable for opening day. You might see him mid-April, early May. And then Jordan Montgomery, who of course has no timetable. He is returning from Tommy John that he had last April. So, even though there's no timetable based off of the usual time it takes to recover from Tommy John, you could expect him about June, July at the earliest if you're lucky. Into 2027, looking ahead for the free agents, Jordan Montgomery, it's a 1-year deal. He would be back on the market. Chris Martin, a 1-year deal. He'd be back on the market. Tyler Alexander, same thing. Sam Haggerty, he would join the market. His contract is up. Jock Peterson has an 18.5 mutual option. That would be a really big year for Jock Peterson if he wants to have a chance to maybe get that deal. I mean, right now he would take it. Rangers would definitely decline that. Kyle Higashioka has a $7 million mutual option. That would definitely be an interesting one. And then Jacob Junis, he's got a $5 million mutual option. So some options there for the Rangers, whether they send back on the market or send to the market, or if they'd rather keep them for 2027. So some names to know for sure. A fun team in the AL West to talk about is the Athletics. Yes, it's still just the Athletics. They were 76 and 86. They were 12th in runs, 27th in starter ERA, and 24th in relief ERA. They finished 14 games back of the division and 11 games back of the wild card. Last season, April, things kind of were looking good for the A's, but then into May, they really hit a wall. They were 7 and 21 that month, and they went on a 1 and 20 stretch in May into early June that basically killed their year. I mean, 3 weeks of games and you only win one while you lose the other 20. That kills off any team's chances at a postseason, really. I mean, it would take a lot of work to get that back. And considering they finished 76 and 86, that's a pretty good job considering, 1 and 20 is horrendous. Manager Mark Kotsay, he's in his 5th year already as the A's manager. I didn't realize he had been around that long. He's done a great job with this team. They do lose a couple members. Sean Newcomb is out. JJ Bleday, Gio Urshela, Luis Urias, Jose Leclerc, and Mitch Spence, as well as Max Schumann, are all no longer there. They bring in a couple names, including Jeff McNeil. Forgot that they made that trade with the Mets. He's coming over. Mark Leiter Jr. signed. Aaron Savali, Scott Barlow. They pick up Andy Ibanez. I said that he was on the Dodgers for the DOP. He was. They waived him. The A's claimed him. So he's actually not on the Dodgers, but he is on the Athletics here. So that is who they bring in from the offseason. The rotation is looking slowly better. They have Luis Severino as the ace, Jeffrey Springs, now Aaron Savali listed as that 3-man kind of middle rotation, with Jacob Lopez and Luis Morales rounding off the starting 5. The lineup. Fangraphs usually does an okay job at predicting what a lineup will look like. I gotta say they really messed up the A's, but I'm gonna read it as anyways. They have Nick Kurtz, the big Amish. He bats first, playing first baseman. That would be a really, really, really fun leadoff hitter. That won't happen. Shea Langoliers, catching, batting second. Big, bop from the A's from this Fangraphs lineup. Tyler Soderstrom, he plays left field. He'd be batting third. With the dad of this lineup, Brent Rooker, the DH, he bats fourth. Jeff McNeil slotted into that 5-hole at second base. Jacob Wilson, listed batting sixth, playing shortstop. He's probably going to lead things off if I would to assume. If I was Mark Kotsay, that's what I would do. No way he's going to be bottom 4 in this lineup. He's going to be top 3 for sure. What a season he had last year. Lawrence Butler in right field would bat 7th. Max Muncy, the third baseman, he would bat 8th. And no, it's not that Max Muncy. There's 2 Max Muncy's in the league now. Denzel Clark, he turned some heads with an amazing catch that he made last year. He is the center fielder. He bats 9th. The bench, Austin Wins, Andy Ibanez, Carlos Cortez, and Colby Thomas. The bullpen, Hogan Harris is back there, Mark Leiter Jr., Scott Barlow, but they're it's another tough year for an A's bullpen, really. Of course, they traded away Mason Miller to the Padres last year's deadline for Leo DeVries, who, maybe we see this year. Who knows? 19-year-old right now. In terms of the IL, they have two guys who are questionable for opening day, including Zach Geloff and Joey Estes. So not sure when those guys will be healthy, ready to go, but hopefully soon enough. A lot of the guys that they signed this year were one-year deals. So when you look ahead into 2027, Aaron Savali will be back on the market. Mark Leiter Jr. back on the market. Scott Barlow back on the market. They would also have Austin Wynns, who's at the end of his contract. He will hit free agency. Luis Severino has a $22 million player option, so that will be interesting because he's been quite unhappy, but 22 is a lot more than he might get if he doesn't pitch too great this year. Jeff McNeil has a $15.75 million club option. Interesting to see if that gets picked up or not, depending on how his season goes. Jeffrey Springs, the other guy with a club option, it's $15 million for his. So 2 club options there for the A's, or otherwise free agency for those players. This brings us to the last team of the AL West to talk about here, the Los Angeles Angels, who finished 5th last year. They were 72 and 90 record-wise. They were 25th in runs, 28th in starter ERA, and 28th in relief ERA. Outside of being 4th in home runs and 10th in relief Ks per 9, they finished bottom 10 in every other team statistic: hitting, starters, relief, fielding, you name it, they were bottom 10. I mean, like, when you actually go through it, it's not great. They were 29th in starter whip, 30th in walks per 9 for starters, 26th in hits per 9 for starters. You go into relief, they were 27th in walks per 9, 25th in hits per 9, 29th in home runs per 9 for relief pitching. Fielding, they were 30th in defense. They were 29th in defensive run save. They were 30th in outs above average. You go back to hitting, they were 23rd in OPS, 28th in on-base percentage, and they were dead last in average. So not a great year for the Angels. They did finish 18 games back of the Mariners for the division and 15 games back for that final wild card spot. They do have a new manager, though, and one that I'm very happy for. Kurt Suzuki is now the skipper of this Angels staff. Similar to how I felt when the Guardians hired Stephen Vogt, I think this is going to be a great hire for the Angels. Very happy to see what Suzuki will do in his first year for this team. They did lose a couple guys. Luis Garcia is gone. Kenley Jansen, Taylor Ward, he got traded at the start of the offseason. Brock Burke, Luis Rengifo, Andrew Chafin, Tim Anderson, they took a shot, missed on him. Tyler Anderson, Hunter Strickland, Kevin Newman, Lamont Wade Jr., and the best loss of the season, Anthony Rendon. His contract is bought out. They're done with him. They never have to worry about seeing him ever again. They do bring in some guys, and I gotta say, the guys they bring in, it is kind of exciting for what these guys could be. They bring in Grayson Rodriguez, who was the top O's pitching prospect a couple years ago. Josh Lowe, they make in a trade with the Rays. Vaughn Grissom, Alek Manoah is brought in. Drew Pomeranz, Kirby Yates, Jordan Romano, Brent Sutter, Adam Frazier. Some fun names there. They also bring back Yoan Moncada, who had a pretty good year. And they bring back Chris Taylor, who they picked up at the deadline from the Dodgers. So some fun names here for the Angels team here, which, I mean, this year should be about fun. You know, how much fun can you have? The rotation has Yusei Kikuchi listed as the ace of this staff, Jose Soriano as the 2, Reed Detmers as the 3, Grayson Rodriguez as the 4, and Alek Manoah rounds off that starting 5. In the lineup, Zach Neto, shortstop, he leads off. He is very good at the game. Nolan Shanuel plays first base. He bats second with Mike Trout DHing, batting third. He's going to be interesting because There's some talks been about going back to center field for him. Who knows? Yoan Moncada batting fourth, listed as the third baseman, with Joe Adell playing center field, batting fifth. Josh Lau in right field bats sixth, with Jorge Soler in left field batting seventh. Logan O'Hoppe, the catcher, bats eighth, and I'm still so high on O'Hoppe. Christian Moore rounds off the starting nine. He plays second base, and you see something more from him this year. The bench will have Travis d'Arnaud, Vaughn Grissom, Adam Frazier, who is a non-roster invitee, but he is listed by Fangraphs as a part of the opening day nod, as well as Bryce Teodosio. I hope I pronounced that right, but there's a good chance I pronounced it wrong. In the bullpen, Robert Stevenson closing things out. He's at the back end there. Drew Pomeranz, Kirby Yates, Jordan Romano, Brent Suter, all the guys they picked up this offseason, basically. Of course, their big one, though, is Ben Joyce. He is questionable for opening day. He did go down last May with a torn labrum. He did get shoulder surgery. Not sure if he'll be ready for opening day exactly, but we'll see where he ends up, when he gets healthy, because he is a big part of that Angels bullpen. When you look ahead into 2027, Jorge Soler's time with the Angels could be done. He's up for grabs. Contract is over. Travis d'Arnaud, and then a bunch of guys they signed back this year, all one-year deals. Guys like Kirby Yates, Drew Pomeranz, Yoan Moncada, Jordan Romano, Brent Sutter. Robert Stevenson has a $2.5 million club option. I'd expect the Angels to pick that one up. So he should remain with the team entering 2027. And that is your Angels. And that kind of brings us to what will be the AL West outlook here. We can start with the Angels because, like I said, this is going to be an interesting year for them. There's some fun pieces here. Guys that I've seen have really great years before. Yes, Yoan Moncada, there's, a good ceiling that he had with the White Sox. How will that fare? Alek Manoah, people forget that 2022 year. He was very, very good. What can the Angels tap into that? How about Jordan Romano? He was very good with the Blue Jays. Really tough year with the Phillies. Drew Pomeranz, he's back. Kirby Yates, remember when he was with the Padres? I think it was 2018, 2019. He had a very good year. He hasn't been the same since. He's been dealing with a lot of injuries. He was okay with the Dodgers when he was pitching with them last year. How about Vaughn Grissom? Remember, he was this saint of a young kid that the Braves used a little bit towards, I think it was 21, before they traded him to Boston as a part of that Chris Sale deal. What can they tap into there? Grayson Rodriguez, top O's pitching prospect. He's had about a year and a half kind of figuring things out. He really hasn't been able to get to that ace level, but has that potential still. So there's a lot of potential here with some guys, but a lot of guys who in the last 2-3 years have been detriments to teams. So the Angels, there's nothing to lose by taking a chance on Alek Manoah. If he's a 4.2 ERA guy, it's kind of what you guys are anyways. If he can get it to a low 3, that's a gamble that works. Like, this is a lot of gambles going on here. And is there a world where this Angels team can win the division? Yeah. You know what? Kind of there is. But, everything would have to go right for them. They'd have to hit every gamble. They'd have to be right on Alek Manoah. He'd have to return to that 2022 Cy Young self. Grayson Rodriguez would need to be turning into a stud. They'd need Mike Trout to stay healthy and, going back to hitting 30-plus home runs. Zach Neto would have to continue the pace he's been on. Nolan Schanuel wouldn't have to rewrite kind of, his record books and try to have a fantastic year. Joe Adell would need to keep it up. Jorge Soler would have to go back to that Kansas City Royal year where he hit nearly 50 home runs. Logan O'Hoppe would need to step it up. Every one of these guys would need to be able to hit their ceilings, if not more. The pitching would need to be there. And then Seattle would have to have a fall off. Houston would have to have a fall off. Texas would have to have a fall off. But this Angels team could get there. Like I said, there's a lot of gambles, but if they all pay off, how surprising could this Angels team be? Maybe very surprising towards the end of 2026. This Angels team could be fighting for a wild card spot, maybe. But again, a lot would have to go right. And there are 4 teams that I think are better than them in this division. So all 4 of them would have to have something go wrong. A team that's very exciting to watch is going to be the Athletics. Still not the Oakland Athletics, still not the Las Vegas Athletics. They sit as the Athletics. They will stay in Sacramento, playing at Sutter Heath Park. And like 27th starter ERA, 24th in relief ERA, we know the A's pitching has millions of question marks. There's a lot of problems and a lot of questions that don't have answers. I mean, is Luis Severino and Jeffrey Springs and Aaron Savali, can those 3 guys carry this team? Pitching wise, probably not. With no Mason Miller in the back end, you know, can Hogan Harris and Scott Barlow, can they really hold on to a lead? You hope so. But the real part of this team that's very exciting is this lineup. Jacob Wilson and Nick Kurtz finished first and second in Rookie of the Year voting. Both these guys in their second years, you can think will take huge steps up. I mean, Nick Kurtz is already getting proclaimed as the best first baseman in the game right now. Me personally, I'd put him third, maybe fourth, just because I'm always hesitant when a player has a really good first year. We've seen guys who've had great rookies of the years and then have fallen off. Remember Kyle Lewis from the Mariners? He was a Rookie of the Year winner. Where is he now? Not in the MLB. So there are examples of guys who can fall off. I don't think Nick Kurtz is a guy who is going to fall off as well as, he had a phenomenal season. And we just mentioned Kurtz and Wilson. Langoliers has been banging for the A's the last couple of years. Tyler Strodison, he was one of those first guys to get those big extensions. The A's have been locking up a lot of this young talent. Lawrence Butler, he's another guy who, I'm a big fan of. And then Brent Rooker. Remember, before all these guys, it was just Brent Rooker who was the all-star hitting 30-plus home runs. Now he's kind of got this, nice team that they've assembled here. You bring in Jeff McNeil, who I think will fit in nicely into this lineup a little bit as kind of this lefty contact guy when you mix in Langoliers with righty pop and Kurtz with lefty pop and Wilson with this righty contact and Rooker with just power both ways. The lineup is so fun. You have Denzel Clark out there in the defense for center field. If you just look at this lineup, this is a playoff lineup. I will say that I would love to see this lineup in the postseason. It is the pitching that's going to hold this A's team back. And maybe if this lineup is really firing on all cylinders, we might see the A's make a push at the deadline, maybe trade for some pitching. Because like I said, with a couple of arms in this bullpen and a couple of arms in the rotation, this A's team is going to be very exciting. I think that first year in 2028 for the Athletics is going to be very exciting when they make the official move to Las Vegas. I think they can make an all-in push and maybe be a division winner again. So very high on the Athletics. They could be a sneaky wild card team this year. Again, lineup is one of the top 5 lineups, top 10 lineups in baseball. Maybe top 5, but definitely top 10. The pitching, though, is definitely bottom 5, right? So you've got a really high in one end, really low in another end. How will that mix? About middle of the pack, 500, maybe a little less, right? So again, high ceiling with lineup, but with that pitching, how will it fare across 162? Those will be the questions. Moving on, the Rangers, they finished 500 and it's interesting because you look at the team rankings, first in starter ERA, 5th in relief ERA. The pitching was very good. They had a healthy DeGrom. Nathan Eovaldi, when healthy, was great. He was one of the best when healthy. They did have a lot of help from a guy like Tyler Mahle, who's no longer on the team. Morel Kelly, they picked up at the deadline. He, is no longer there. Leiter and Kumar Rocker, they took a couple steps forward. We'll see how they actually go. They did lose a lot of arms. We did mention Kelly. We did mention Mahle. Phil Maton's gone. Armstrong's gone. Milner's gone. Webb is gone. So they did lose a lot of pitching. But for me, this big thing, the Rangers with some of the best pitching last year, according to these stats, they were 22nd in runs. And when you look at the names on this lineup, Corey Seager, Jock Peterson, Jake Berger, Evan Carter, Josh Young, Josh Smith, you think these would be guys to help this Rangers team and this lineup go forward. They had Adolis Garcia, Jonah Heim. Like, those were two guys who were very important in this Rangers team that won the World Series back in 2023. They non-tendered both of them. Both of them are gone. Jonah Heim no longer here. Adolis Garcia, who is kind of the biggest member of that 2023 World Series run, he is no longer here. They traded Marcus Semien for Brandon Nimmo, and from an offensive perspective, I think the Rangers easily win that trade. If you ask me right now which of those two players I would rather have, I would take Brandon Nimmo over Marcus Semien. I think that's a great deal for the Rangers. Having him at the top of the lineup is going to help. Corey Seager needs to find a way to stay healthy. He can still be one of the elite shortstops, but we haven't really been having Seager be at his best. Jock Peterson had a really tough year. Jake Berger, same thing. Like, you really need to see these guys go. Wyatt Langford was a big, contributor as to why they were 22nd in runs instead of like 26th. The Wyatt Langford show was on full display. When you look at the names that this lineup offers, you think they should be firing on all cylinders, but they finished 22nd in runs. I would say they can still get better offensively. You can kind of rework that. They did lose a lot of pitchers, but they trade for Mackenzie Gore, who I think is going to help out. They bring in some names like Alexander and Alexis Diaz for the bullpen, who have pitched really well in the past. I mean, Tyler Alexander, when he was Detroit, when he was with the Rays, he has some good years there. Alexis Diaz, he was an all-star with the Reds a couple years ago. So there is these guys who, similar to the Angels, if they can get it right and fire like properly, could be very exciting and can be fighting for a division. We have to see it, though. I mean, Jock Peterson would need to rewrite last year. Berger, same thing. Young, we need to see a little bit more from Evan Carter. From 2023, we thought this guy was going to be like, oh, he's on pace to be a really good ball player. He's kind of he hasn't really been the same since that postseason, since that end of 2023. So getting him right is going to be important. Maybe Nimmo can kind of help them a little bit. So there's things to like about this Rangers team. I don't know exactly if it's going to amount to anything this year, but there is things to be happy about. I think you can be competitive for the division. If DeGrom can stay healthy, if Eovaldi can stay healthy, that as a 1-2, that's a lethal 1-2 punch. And then Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker, you're hoping is the next big 1-2 punch for you guys. You want those guys to take big steps forward this year. And I mean, this rotation could be elite if they can get things right. If Rocker and Leiter can go, this Rangers team will be exciting. This Astros team, though, I got to be honest, it's kind of the lowest we've ever felt about an Astros team entering a season. And again, I mean, I said it when I was talking about them at the beginning, their little intro. They were in 9 of the last 10 postseasons before last year. And yes, they were technically a postseason team when you look at the records, but they didn't have the tiebreaker over the Tigers. They were 1 game behind then, 1 game out of making it in their 9th straight year in the postseason. I think if the Astros made it to the postseason last year, we'd be talking about them a little bit differently, or at least I would. But again, this is probably the lowest I've felt about the Astros. I mean, they were 7 straight years of making it to the ALCS? Like, that's a lot. And then last year, or in 2024, was the first year they didn't, when they lost the Tigers, I believe, in the wild card round, right? And now this year as a whole, they don't even make the postseason. So they're kind of on this decline here. At the deadline last year, they brought back Correa. He's going to be playing third base. Yordan Alvarez is still a premier bat. He needs to stay healthy. Hopefully, we can have Alvarez have a full, healthy season because he could put up MVP numbers. He's got great bat-to-ball skills. His offense, his bat is huge in that offense. There was a lot of questions with the Astros going into last season, and they kind of all were wrong. So it's good to see them kind of reverting back. Altuve was playing left field at the start of last year. He's listed as a second baseman. That should be done with. Fun little weird year, put him out there in left. he's the second baseman. He needs to stay the second baseman. You're hoping for a bounce back from Christian Walker. He had a tough little transition year. Joey Loperfido is a fun bat. He needs to get consistent playing time, and hopefully the Astros will give that to him. He's, of course, listed as the opening day left fielder by Fangraphs. Zach Cole, another young kid. Isaac Paredes, Cam Smith. I mean, you got these bench guys listed by Fangraphs, but like they could be starting as well. So, I mean, they've got some options here. That they can go for the lineup. For me, the question will be in the rotation. Hunter Brown, very good year. I think it was third in Cy Young. He was up there. Christian Javier, you're looking to bounce back a little bit, but he's up there as an option. They lose out Framber Valdez, no longer with the team, but they bring in Tatsuya Amai to kind of replace that. It'll be interesting to see how good his year is. He could potentially be a Rookie of the Year winner. And if it's so good, I mean, an $18 million player option, he could be in this year, have a great year, out the next year, and signing somewhere else with another team. So it's going to be a weird year for the Astros. But, you know, there's still a lot to like about the lineup. There's still great pitching in the rotation. They still have a bullpen that when Josh Hader's back and healthy and when Nate Pearson's back, they're just going to get better and better. And I think the Astros, you know, after so much success, having that year where they missed the postseason last year, they're going to be hungry. And I think that's going to be something that we haven't seen for the Astros in the last couple of years, where they've been the king. You know, they've been atop the division. They got dethroned. Now they actually have like something to fight for and a reason to be clawing back. And that's because they lost it to the Mariners, who were very good last year. Cal Raleigh, the year that he had cannot be understated. I think he should have been the MVP. I mean, 60 home runs from a switch-hitting catcher who plays every day. That just feels unheard of in today's game. Julio, you need to have a strong first half. I mean, you look at Julio's splits between the first half and the second half. I mean, you'll take second half Julio every day of the year, but first half Julio is not great, man. He needs to figure it out in April, in May, get going. I'm surprised they brought back Josh Naylor. I mean, it's a perfect fit for them, and I think he fits the culture there really well. So I don't know why I'm so surprised, but I'm happy they brought him back. I think he's a nice fit there. Donovan they traded for. He's listed as the third baseman. That will be interesting. At the end of the day, when you have a rotation that features Brian Wu, Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, George Kirby, and Bryce Miller, I mean, 4 of these 5 could be the ace of a staff in maybe 15 teams. You know, you take George Kirby, he could be an ace for like almost half the teams. Maybe not half, but like a good majority of teams. The Mariners rotation is a top 5, definitely maybe top 3 rotation in baseball. This is very exciting. I think the Mariners, you know, they got that taste getting back to, you know, winning the division, going back to the ALCS. They were so close to their first World Series appearance. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like here if you're Seattle, and you're coming in as the king this year, right? So there's expectations that are going to be placed on you guys. You have to answer those questions. You have to shut up the Astros, shut up the Rangers. Good stuff. Good things to be excited for if you are a member of the Mariners. Let's get into my division predictions here. What I think is going to happen in the AL West. And call me boring, but the way the standings finished last year, I see the exact same thing this year. I don't know why. I think the Mariners are going to be first, and I think they're going to win the division again. I think the Astros will come in a close second. I think the Rangers will finish third, ahead of the A's and ahead of the Angels. I think exactly 1-for-1 copy-paste. Don't ask me why. Well, no, I should tell you why. The A's, like I said, lineup-wise, I think are the best lineup in this division. I think the pitching is going to hold them back, and even if they are in a position where they could be competing for a wild card come the deadline, I don't think this ownership group is going to want to trade for pitching right now. I don't think they would do much at the deadline. And then I think that their pitching would catch up to them towards the end of the season. That's why they would finish fourth. The Angels, I think the gambling won't work. I hope a couple of the players hit. I hope Manoah is really good. I hope Romano is really good. I would love to see Soler kind of bounce back. And I would love to see Trout healthy for a full 162, even if he doesn't play the full 162. So that's why I have them finishing fifth. Rangers, again, pitching might be there, hitting might be there, but I still like the Mariners and Astros more. And between those two, I like the Mariners more. I don't know. I was trying to find a one to switch. You could maybe convince me for the A's over the Rangers, for the A's to finish third. Um, and I hope that's the case. But as of now, I think there's too many good names on the Rangers that even if they can't figure out their offensive woes, you still got to take the pedigree that Seager can offer, that Nimmo can offer now in this Texas lineup. You got to hope that there's a bounce back somewhere between Berger and Peterson. So there are options there. That's why I have it the exact same. Mariners, Astros, Rangers, A's, Angels. Which brings us to the last part of the episode here, which is the over and unders. And I mean, when I was looking at these, I gotta be honest, I don't know if I'm correct or wrong or just crazy low on this AL West division, but Vegas hit up some really good overs and unders here, starting with the Seattle Mariners, who have a 90.5, 90 and a half is their over under. And I gotta say, this is an easy over for me. I like the Mariners last year. I think what they've done this year, they've kind of supplemented certain areas around their field. And I don't know, maybe I'm just not as high as I am for the Astros and Rangers. I think the Mariners and that pitching staff specifically, they're just going to run. They're going to run away with it. So give me the over. I think they're going to get to like 94 wins this year. The Astros are at 85 and a half. This is a great line because like I had them like sitting like 87 to 83-ish, like around that 4-game range. It's tough losing out on Framber, but you bring in a Mai. You're not sure how that will go. You want to see this kind of bounce back from Correa and Altuve, which will have their first full season back together. If Alvarez is healthy, the Astros could easily win over 86 games, but I'm going to take the under on Houston. I'm not sure how I feel over the 162. Something about it, maybe it's because they didn't make the postseason last year, and I think they're on the decline. I don't know. I'm going to take the under there. The Rangers are at 83 and a half. That means to win more games than they did last year by like 3-4 games. And I don't know if they're going to do that. Again, I'm not as high as the Rangers as I'd like to be. I'm going to take the under on Texas. I think they're going to sit about 81, 81 again. I don't think they're going to get better. I don't think they're going to get worse. I think they're just smack dead middle 500, which is just weird to say that they're going to finish 500 again in back-to-back seasons. That's crazy to me. The Athletics line, 75 and a half. I like this. I'm going to take the over. I don't think they're going to get to 80, but I think 78, 79 games definitely on the table, 77 at least, with the lineup that they're going to bring out there. So I'm going to take the over on the Athletics. The Angels coming in at 70 and a half, which basically says, do you think they're going to do just the exact same as they did last year, finishing 72 and 90, or do you think they're going to be worse? I personally think they're going to be worse. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to take the under on the Angels. So to summarize that, Mariners and Athletics are getting the overs. Astros, Rangers, and Angels are getting my unders, and that takes us to the end of the DOP for the AL West division. Let me know what you guys think I was wrong in. Let me know what you think I was right in. I feel like this was the worst one. I have the least confidence in my predictions and what I've said so far. This division, I mean, what if the Athletics win the division, the Mariners come fourth? Like, I don't know. Like, is that logical? Like, am I missing something? I feel like I'm like looking at the over and under specifically, like taking the unders on both the Astros and Rangers. One of those teams got to click, right? Like, there's no way both of them are going to struggle this year. Like, I have no idea. But again, let me know. This was the 5th DOP. Did I say I think I said the 4th DOP like 3 times in today's episode. I think I said at the beginning, and towards the end, like 5 seconds ago. I think I said it was the 4th DOP. This is the 5th DOP. We're 5 done now. There's only 1 more left to go. That is, of course, the NLE. So stay tuned for that. If you've missed any of the other episodes, go back, take a listen to them. Let me know your thoughts. We're almost at the 2026 season. The World Baseball Classic is just around the corner as well. So stay tuned for all of that stuff. And I appreciate you all for listening. Thank you, buddy, so much. 5 down, and there's just one more DOP to go, and we will see you then.